Okay, today's lesson is going to be on box plots and comparing data on two different box plots. Box plots are another type of graph which will show distribution of data, and similar to the dot plots, but a little bit more information, and this is what we're going to look at today. So first of all, a box plot looks simple, but it's got a lot of parts and a very little amount of space, and it gives you a lot of information. So what we're going to do, we're going to look at all of the different vocabulary that goes with the parts of the box. So the first one is the median. That's the center data point, and in the box plot, that center is that dot and the vertical line here. That is the median of all of the data points. The minimum is pretty obvious. It's the lowest point at the bottom of the box plot, and the maximum is the highest point. So these two dots. Now the interquartile, now we're looking at it. If you look at it, the box plot is divided into four sections. 1, 2, this larger one here, and 4. So you have 2 in the middle and 1 on each end. Each of these is called a quartile, and quartile sounds like quarter, and it is. It's about where 25% or 1/4 of the data points lie. So it gives you a picture in one box shape of what kind of distribution you're looking at. So the interquartile range also has the capital letters IQR, you'll see that in problems, is the middle 50%. So this 25% and this 25%. So half of all of the data points are inside the box. Remember that. The lower quartile is this point right here, and it is at the beginning of the bottom quartile. So it's the number at the bottom of the box. The upper quartile starts at the top end of the box, so this point represents the upper quartile. So that's the beginning of the top 25%. And these lines are called whiskers. So we have a box, that's the interquartile range. We have whiskers, the upper and lower 25%. And then we have the median, which is the middle data point. And that is a box plot. Now let's compare box plots and dot plots. We did dot plots the last lesson, and so let's look at them. Remind ourselves what they look like. So the dot plots show all of the individual data points. However, a box plot does not. You don't know anything except the center data point and the min and the max. The range, both of them, it's easy to determine the range from both of them. You can see the highest point and the lowest point on a dot plot, as well as on the highest dot and the lowest dot on a box plot. So from range, they're no different. The median is really hard to find in a dot plot. You have to count them all and then figure out which one is in the middle. But in a box plot, it's its own little dot, so it's clear. And then the quartiles is a part of a box plot, and there's nothing to help you determine the shape of the dot plot. You only know the min and the max and the shape as you can eyeball it. So this is a different way to look at the shape in a box plot, but it does give you some sense of center and spread. And we're going to go over that next. So now we have both dot plots and box plots, both of them showing distribution of data. All right, so in a single comparison, we'll try to move this around. So we have here two stores, both of them selling DVDs, and they're plotting how many DVDs they sold bi-weekly for different weeks. So let's look at this first. First thing you want to do is look at the shapes, and let's look at the centers. All right, let's come over here. Store A, the median is about 200, so right around 200. Store B has a median of around 350. So all of a sudden, already I think that Store B is probably selling more. Store A's median is actually close to Store B's lower quartile. So actually see this, how this median line is lining up just a little bit lower than the bottom of the box in Store B. Well, what does that mean? This is the 50% mark. So in fact, 50% of Store A is lower than 25% of Store B. So what we can conclude from that is that store A is definitely selling less than store B. Let's look at the spreads. What's the variability? In the IQR, remember that's the interquartile, that's the width of the box. For A, it's 150 DVDs, going from 300 down to 150. And in store B, it's 175, so that's going from 400 down to 225. So store B has a little bit more spread in the middle 50% than store A. Store A, however, has this really long whisker, so they must have had a couple of really good days, but a lot of lower days. So this whisker is very long compared to all the other whiskers. And store B's box position, so the whole box, is actually higher, push it that way, higher than on the number line. So it is actually consistently greater in sales than store A. So what I would say from this description, that store B may have a little bit more spread, but most of the time is doing better than store A in a lot of different measures, both median and interquartile. And the last one is just the simple range, min to max. So store A's range is 450 from 500 down to 50 for a range of 450. Store B is, not Oz, 350 from 450 down to 100. So the range B is more consistent and A has a more variability. So all in all, I think that we could conclude from this that store B is doing better both in average sales and in consistency. So that's really all we need to know about box plots. We need to know the names of the different sections of the box plots. And going back to how do you compare the two sets, you can look at it three different ways. You can look at the shapes, which are the sort of how the whiskers in the box are shaped compared to the centers, and then the overall spread. This actually are the same three criteria that you would use to describe a dot plot. So in both cases, we are taking distributions of data and we're comparing two different populations and seeing what kind of conclusions we can come from that. That is all we need today to do the homework in lesson 11.3. The lesson itself will be due Friday, but you'll do the videos tomorrow with this and Dr. Berger's examples, and then on Friday you'll be able to complete the homework assignment. And I will have a copy of this tomorrow afternoon available for you to watch. However, this is probably everything you need in a couple of other examples. So tomorrow, or with this be today, you'll watch 2 more videos from Dr. Berger, and then you'll do your assignment.